Alright, so I wanted to show you guys a tool that can be used in Kali Linux. It's for OSINT. So OSINT stands for Open Source Intelligence. OSINT is the collection and analysis of data gathered from open sources, covert sources, and publicly available information to produce actionable intelligence. So just a disclaimer, this is legal to use. It pulls public data from the internet, basically, in an organized manner. So if you look at it, right, you can see, right, you can scan the name, right, the name of the scan, whatever, it could be an individual or it could be um, an organization or whatever it is that you're trying to gather information about publicly. So and here's the thing, right? This is the type of tool that somebody is going to use if that's what they do. If it's when it comes down to um, basically information gathering, recon, stuff like that. So, in the field of security penetration testing, um, people will or organizations will contract pen testers to obviously, try to basically find the vulnerabilities in their networks and their systems and gather information maybe about employees and try to find a way that they could get a foothold. And believe it or not, legally, companies will contract you as a pen tester to try to basically break into their infrastructure, right? And one of the processes for a pen tester when they're the first stage of basically trying to infiltrate an organization or you know, so to speak, as in the perspective of a red team um, engagement, um, you basically have to get a foothold, right? And the first stage is information gathering and recon um, and OSINT, right? So you gather as much information as you can about the target, whether that's an organization, whatever you're contracted as a pen tester to do. Now, see, the reason why I'm showing you guys this is because a lot of you, you know, realize that there's bad actors that are targeting people or organizations, right? So there's two sides of the fence, right? There's a white hat hacker, which works for an organization legally, right, and has a career as a security penetration tester. And basically, the reason why they need security pen testers is to find the vulnerabilities and entry points before a bad actor does. So this is the reason why I'm teaching you guys this. I'm not trying to teach it to you from the perspective of a malicious attacker. I'm trying to give you this insight so you can see how these things work in real life. And you could also use this. Like I could put my own name in here, right, and then do a scan and see all of the information that's on the internet that somebody could potentially gather, against me and use to socially engineer me if they were targeting me type of a thing in that perspective, right, of the attacker. So, I could put my domain name, scan my website to see what vulnerabilities or what information is there. I could put in a Bitcoin address and gather public information, an email address, as you can see right here, phone number, an actual name, and then it tells you an example of how to do that in quotations, right? A username, right? So if somebody is like harassing you or stalking you or whatever, and they use a username, believe it or not, you could do a scan to a username and find real accounts that this person uses that may be attached to their real identity, to their name. And you could, uncover information about them by doing an OSINT scan like this, for example, right? Um, but again, these tools are used for security professionals to do red team engagements and uh, pen tests legally. that they've been contracted to do, right? And if you do research on pen testing, you'll notice that obviously the first kind of process that you follow is information gathering, OSINT, recon. And then once you gather all that information, you utilize that to now construct and organize an attack based off of that information against that entity or individual, right? So say there was, Tesla, right? They have, what do you call it? I can't believe I forgot the name. They basically have a program where they hire ethical hackers or security pen testers to try to break into their infrastructure, right? And then they give you a scope of what you're allowed to do as for means to try to infiltrate or penetrate their infrastructure or organization in any way, whether they can trick an employee into opening or clicking a link or opening a file and then getting reverse shell on one of the company computers or whatnot. Um, like I said, this would be the first step into doing that, but companies will pay you legally to try to break into their organization. Not necessarily, this is not necessarily meant to just like target like individuals, but this could be a tool that could be used legally to obtain and gather information on the internet about somebody um, that may work for an organization that you could then find their email, find their phone number, try to gain at the attacker or the legally contracted pen tester could um, try to get on their phone and gain access to the organization or credentials to the organization, so on and so forth, right? So these are the type of tools that are used for OSINT. And so Spiderfoot is the name of this tool, and it's an open source intelligent, right, um, automation tool. It integrates with just about every data source available and utilizes a range of methods for data analysis, making that data easy to navigate. Spiderfoot has an embedded web server to provide a clean and intuitive web-based interface, but can also be used completely via the command line. It's written in Python 3. So this is not just like a tool that somebody can just go on a website and use it. Let me show you what I had to do to start this tool. So this is in Kali Linux, right? And this is what I mean. You would have to learn Linux in order to understand how to even use these tools or start these tools. You won't be able to use this tool unless you know how to install this in Linux and you know how to run it and operate it in a Linux environment. So that's why I try to teach you guys how to use Kali Linux, because then you could utilize these tools to even your own benefit in an ethical way. You could, like, for example, like if I wanted to see what type of information was out there on the internet that some malicious attacker could potentially get about me, I'm going to put my name right here and I'm going to put my name in the scan, and then I'm going to run the scan of everything, all, get everything and get anything and everything about the target. So that way I can see what's out there about me that could be used that I don't want out there, right? And then maybe I could take action and figure out how to remove that information off of the internet. And see, that's the thing. People will even, somebody that's trying to be anonymous, right? They could be just under a username, right? That's not really their real name or whatever. And you can run that username through the scan and actually find real accounts that this username, the fake username, is attached to a real person or real entity. There's so many ways that that can actually happen. Sometimes it doesn't happen, right? It just depends on the digital footprint of that individual, but a lot of people make a lot of mistakes thinking that, oh, well, I'm under some anonymous username, nobody's going to find me, so they're doing all kinds of stupid things, and that can be, um, analyzed, basically. Um, So I'll just read a little bit more. So footprint, it says understand what information this target exposes to the internet. Gain an understanding about the target's network perimeter, associated identities and other see associated identities and other information that is obtained through a lot of web crawling and searching engine use. Now, here's another alternative. So you can choose one of these, right? Depending on what type of information gathering scan, OSINT scan you're trying to accomplish. So investigate, right? Best for when you suspect the target to be malicious but need more information. Some basic footprinting will be performed in addition to querying of blacklists and other sources that may have information about your target's maliciousness. So you might be able to put in their IP address and find that they're involved in all kinds of malicious, dark web things or something, right? You're trying to get an understanding of this, malicious attacker, stalker, whatever it is, or some type of a scam organization that's, scamming people for like millions of dollars or something, and whatever, and they have a Bitcoin address. Like, there's so many legal and ethical and logical, reasonable ways to use this tool. But obviously, there's always going to be evil people that are going to try to use things like this to their advantage in a manipulative way, in a way that's not legal or ethical, right? So it's best for you to know how these things work and use them in your advantage versus before a malicious individual gets their hands on something like this and utilizes it. So that's also why I'm kind of like cautious about. I don't put Now, I did not show you how to install this tool. I didn't show you how to install it. I didn't show you, the Linux commands that are used, and you're going to look at this and it's going to be a bunch of mumbo jumbo to you. You're not going to be able to understand it. Now, I could tell you right now in 5 minutes how to use this tool, and you could literally use this tool in the next 10 minutes. Um, from me giving you the Linux commands and walking you through the process pretty easily, versus you would probably not be able to install this. Even if you had instructions to follow, you're going to run into a lot of, you know, um, roadblocks. Like, first of all, you have to know what your local IP address, and you have to set that local IP address with a port number, and it has to be a specific port number, depending on what you're trying to do, if it's involving HTTP or HTTPS. So there's a lot involved, right? And it's not like anybody can just do this. It takes like 10 years of learning the basics of Linux. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. Most people that are even malicious don't have the patience. They just want a quick fix. They're trying to do something wrong. They're trying to, like, whatever. And they end up giving up because you actually have to look at this from the perspective of the long run, you know, legal, ethical way of how you can, have a future doing this stuff. You know what I mean? And the future is going to be this. There's so much more like cyber security issues that, you know, um, if you learn this now, in like a couple of years, you're going to be like such a valuable asset. They're going to be wanting to hire people. And there's so many different areas. You don't have to do red team where you're trying to like break into a company. Well, they'll pay you like, like give you 60 grand if you can break in and get a reverse shell, you know, and you don't have to do red team. There's other things where you could just like scan networks at like businesses and see what flaws are in the network, or maybe what security issues might be in the network using Wireshark. There's so many different areas and careers and jobs that you could have that just come from your own skill. And if you're into like this type of stuff, like, bro, like this is like the best thing you could master right now in 2024. Like, and it's beneficial, to a lot of people, for a lot of different reasons. But, you know, uh, I also wanted to show you, like, this is just the information gathering OSINT um, recon aspect of like a pen test type of thing, right? And I just wanted to make a couple videos about that type of stuff because that's the beginning. That's where you start, and then it goes on and on. It gets more and more and more advanced. But yeah, so it gets more and more advanced. I also wanted to talk about some other OSINT tools that I've used and that I'll probably make some videos about. So I got a list of 7 OSINT tools that could be used in Kali Linux that you may be able to benefit from. And again, like I said, this is legal. It's public information that's being, pulled across the internet, um, and depending on what an individual does with that information and where it becomes illegal, right? So all of this stuff is legal. There's a career involved in it, and it just depends on, obviously the individual. Like it might be legal to have a knife on your person, but it's illegal to go and rob somebody with it. You know what I mean? Like, so it's the same thing with like ethical hacking. Like this can be used to help people help yourself, secure systems, secure networks, organizations, give you, open you up to job opportunities that are remote that you can just do on your laptop, and you can make a lot of money. You create a business out of this knowledge once you learn it, you know. So there's a lot of benefits, um, not just for a specific person, like, but for everybody. Everybody should learn this. You know what I mean? Like, kids should be learning how to do this stuff because it's going to give them a career opportunity. It's going to make them sharper when it comes to security online. You know, and they can help people. Be more secure and teach people cool stuff, and potentially have a career from it or a business, whatever. Kind of what I'm doing with these videos, right? So, anyway, so here's 7 tools that can be used in Kali Linux that are used for OSINT and information gathering and recon. So Maltego is a powerful tool for data mining and link analysis, useful for visualizing relationships between people, organizations, websites, and other entities. Usage, useful for mapping out relationships and connections in a visual, graphical way. So, number 2, the harvester, a tool designed to gather emails, subdomains, IPs, and URLs by using multiple public data sources like search engines. Excellent for initial reconnaissance to gather information from various sources. Number 3, Recon NG, a full-featured web reconnaissance framework written in Python with independent modules, database interaction, built-in convenience functions, and interactive help. Framework, a framework that can automate many OSINT tasks. Spiderfoot, that's the one that we're using right now, that we're learning about. An automated OSINT tool to gather, analyze, and correlate information from multiple data sources. Usage, good for extensive data gathering and analysis. So Shodan, number 5, a search engine for internet connected devices, providing information on various devices exposed on the internet, useful for finding exposed devices and services. I don't even know how to pronounce this. Census, a search engine that provides information about hosts and networks across the internet, helps to discover vulnerable systems and monitor network activity. And there is another one here. It says Matigo Phil. Not, not exactly sure how to pronounce that, but yeah. An information gathering tool designed for extracting metadata of public documents, PDF, doc, XLS, PPT, etc., available on Target's website. Useful for extracting hidden metadata from files, which can provide valuable information. So, like maybe hidden information in a PDF. That's interesting. I didn't know about that one. And here's the thing, like, whatever you guys are interested in, after hearing about these tools, if you're interested in learning about any of them, I'm going to be making videos and teaching you how to use these, install these tools in Kali Linux, right? And that's what the Patreon course is for. So I'm just giving you an inside look of what type of things that you could learn, and maybe it might be useful for you, or you might be interested in a career in cybersecurity and security penetration testing. So, and just to learn Linux and Kali Linux is literally an asset. Like you could get a whole line of jobs and careers like from just learning Linux. Like it's insane. Like this is the future. I'm telling you. Like I've always been interested in computers and technology, and it's just like oh hacking and stuff. When I was a kid, I thought it was so cool. This is real hacking. Like, this is really what it looks like. And of course, agencies like, government agencies, law enforcement, CIA, FBI, so on and so forth, utilize Kali Linux and these tools to go after, terrorists, people that they consider to be terrorists, right? So think about how much power that you get out of seeing and learning about these things, which you never do. Like, the law and the government have access to technology and tools like this, right? But have you ever seen it? Have you ever used it? Have it like, you know what I mean? And you don't have to associate this stuff with evil and bad because you can utilize it to actually give yourself an advantage against the evil and the bad and the hackers and the black hats and the the criminals or the enemy, because they don't also want you to have this knowledge either because then it doesn't really work. You know what I mean? Because now you can put your name in here, scan, see all the stuff that you have out there that you didn't know was there, and then you can go and target that information and have it removed. Like I'll make a video about that too, how you can have things removed. There is a company that you can consult with actually that will go and literally legally force any entity to take down any information publicly that could be pulled from the internet about you, right? So I just wanted to give you guys a little insight on OSINT and information gathering, recon, you know, um, tools that could be utilized, and show you like what type of things I'm going to be teaching you guys in the course, right? So you're going to be learning how to install these and use these things, right? So you're going to find out, like if you go and Google Spiderfoot, right, you're going to find out a bunch of information about it, find out, at least for Kali Linux, you don't have to be too worried because most people don't know how to do this stuff. Most people don't know how to learn this stuff. It takes like 10, 11 years to even get to this level where you can even like start this tool. It's not just something that anybody that wants to cause havoc is going to be able to utilize, right? They're going to take years to get to this level of learning first the Linux basics, Linux commands, because you can't operate anything in Kali Linux without knowing Linux commands. PWD, right? Shows the directory that you're in. Or list, ls, list directories. Now it's listing all the tools and all the listing all the tools that are in Kali Linux, ls, right? And then if you wanted to, I'll just do a couple, right? If you wanted to navigate into one of these folders that hold the maybe Python or Bash files that you would need to learn what commands to install and start these things. But if you just wanted to get into one of these folders like beef, right? You have to do cd and then beef. And now we're inside of that folder, right? And now when I type ls, now you see all these files? Tell me right now that you would be able to figure out how to start this tool called beef. You probably wouldn't be able to because first of all, you have to know how to install um, some of these files, config files or setup files, you know what I mean, using Python or Bash, or these are like languages that you need to understand and learn. So before you can even utilize or use any of these tools, you would have to learn that first. And it's not something that you can just learn in 10 minutes and then all of a sudden you're using these tools. Like it takes years of hard work and dedication and commitment and energy and time. So if this is interesting to you, and you want to try to use these tools to even just see what information that you can find about yourself, which you're allowed to do, right? Then you can do that, you know. And I even ran my name. I found like a couple of things, and I was like, okay, like, I could have that removed, or, I'm surprised that's visible. Like, I'm surprised that was there. And, whatever, you could run your name and, or username or whatever IP address and find nothing, which is good. That means you have less of a digital footprint, right? And let's say you type in your username and do a search and find out that somehow it it was able to be connected to your real name or your real Facebook account, which kind of leaks your anonymity. It makes you not private your book. Like you're not anonymous, right? So it gives you a good perspective of like good internet etiquette, I guess, like digital footprint etiquette, type of a thing, right? So it's beneficial in a lot of different ways. But anyways, if you guys like this video, make sure you hit the like, subscribe. Um, if you're interested in learning stuff like this, I'm going to be teaching, a lot more on information gathering, recon, and OSINT, but also just really cool stuff like, how to hack Wi-Fi, how to hack an Android phone and get a reverse shell, and the reason why you'd want to learn this type of stuff is because you want to see how it works from the inside out, from the attacker's perspective, so you can better identify these attacks when they're being directed towards you. You will have the advantage. You don't have to be all worried all the time. Oh, I think I'm hacked. Oh my God. Oh, I don't know. Like you don't have to be in fear because knowledge is power. When you have the knowledge, you have the power over everything. It's no longer fear. You're no longer worried about being compromised. Why? Because you have the knowledge and information now how you can actually scan your devices and your home Wi-Fi and find the vulnerabilities and find all of the things that expose you to that potentially happening. Or if you have been compromised, you can actually see inside of your Windows processes, inside of your devices to find reverse shells attached to IP addresses and ports that are open that shouldn't be open. I'm going to teach you guys all that in the course, right? That's for especially for a TI. That's a big deal for you to be able to have power like that over your um, digital life because it feels like you're powerless. It feels like these entities that have power like this can just infiltrate you at any time. You're always compromised and you're always being tracked and you're always getting hacked and you don't know where it's coming from. Well, guess what? It doesn't just come out of thin air. It doesn't just come out of nowhere and just somehow you just get, hacked. There's a process and this is how it's done. So why wouldn't you learn this? Because now you know how it works. You know how it happens. You know what to look for. You know actually how to scan files and make sure they're not malicious. You know how to actually look at an email and see and know if it's a phishing email, even if it has a domain. You can scan that domain and find out uh, more information that you could determine if it's malicious or not. You know, or you could look at the HTML metadata in a web page and see that the post data is being sent to an external server that it shouldn't be. You know what I'm saying? Now you know how to do that, you know? And it's like, if I can learn how to do that, you guys can learn how to do that. You know what I mean? Um, I just haven't had a chance to really express how like wild this stuff is, like, and how beneficial it is to learn and how much of an advantage it really gives you. I just been kind of just talking about it, but I'm gonna, you know, start showing it more. The thing is with YouTube, you can't show everything when it comes to this stuff because if people can just follow steps and literally gain access to tools like this and utilize them for harm, that's not a good thing, right? So, um, I just show the tools. If you want to learn you know, um, how to use them, how to install them, and stuff about Kali Linux, what Linux commands, and all that stuff, you can join my Patreon and join my course, and I'll teach you that. Um, but I just can't put it all out for anybody to consume and use maliciously, right? So there's a way that I can control this information and not give it to the wrong people. You know what I'm saying? So that's another reason why you should join Patreon. So, anyways, make sure you like the video, subscribe, share, and the Patreon link to join my course if you want to learn this stuff from me and work with me one on one will be in the description and pinned in the comments. Peace.